This is Donald Parham of the LA Chargers, and you're listening to Chargers Unleashed, part of the LA Football Network. Stay jiggy.
3, 2, 1.
This is Chargers Unleashed podcast. Here are your hosts, Dan Wolkenstein and Jake Hefner.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LA Football Network. Today's show, of course, being brought to you by UFC Fit in Temecula, Charger Bolt Family, Golden Road Brewery, and Tick Pick. Dan Wolkenstein, as the old saying goes, winning is the best deodorant. And my God, did the Chargers need every bit of Old Spice, Axe body spray, whatever type of deodorant you want to use. Yeah, whatever it is, just give me even some of whatever feminine products that your girlfriends or your wives might have. The Chargers needed it to get rid of the stench that they had just 1 week ago when they dropped the game against the Houston Texans. Now playoffs are truly on the line, and the Chargers needed help going into this week. Simple formula. As long as you win your two games on top of two other teams in the Baltimore Ravens and the Miami Dolphins lose at least one of their last two, you're in the playoffs. 3 out of the 4 of those things have been thus accomplished. The Chargers at home, defeated the Denver Broncos, as well as they did get their gifts. The Baltimore Ravens dropped in the final minute of the game to the Los Angeles Rams. That one was a hard stopper. And the Miami Dolphins ended up dropping their game to the Tennessee Titans, which now has set up just a perfect way to finish the 2021 season. With playoffs on the line, win and you're in. The Chargers going to Las Vegas to finish off the season for playoff contention against the Las Vegas Raiders. You could have avoided this, but at the same time, it's good when the stakes are high, isn't it? If you are following or subscribing to the show for the first time, make sure to like and subscribe us to us on YouTube. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We are available wherever you choose to digest your weekly podcast on iTunes or on Spotify. Again, whatever format it is, we're there. Dan Wolkenstein, you were there at the game, much like you are at usually all the home games. Didn't get off to the best start that we would hope that the Chargers would. But as the game gradually wore on, the offense started getting in a rhythm. The defense was making a lot of plays, aside from a handful of plays here and there, and a lot of all three aspects of the game. The Chargers handled their business and handled it collectively with a convincing 34-13 defeat or victory over the Denver Broncos. But Dan Wolkenstein, you were there. Give me the atmosphere. Tell me the first-person perspective.
So, yes, Jake, we are alive. We are alive in the playoff contentions once again.
Against all odds.
Against all odds. Now having to go up against the Las Vegas Raiders week 18, in Vegas for all the marbles. Huge weekend for the Chargers. Things had to fall our way, and they did just that. And the Chargers took care of business. I'm not gonna lie. Great home crowd. The Chargers, obviously, they got the first touchdown right off the bat, and then it kind of was sputtering for a bit, and that was on both sides. For those at the stadium, I'm curious what you thought, or for me, I don't know if you saw this, Jake, on TV, but the atmosphere at SoFi for the first maybe quarter and a half, you could feel the Chargers fans' like collective tension and nervousness and anxiety of like, please don't screw this up. Like there, you could tell the gravity of how important this game was. And Chargers fans were a little quiet. Like it was crickets on both sides of the ball for a bit because you know how important this is. I mean, imagine what the players are going through. But you're right. As the game went on, Chargers kind of started to dominate more and more. Some ridiculous plays, some ridiculous events that happened that transpired that we haven't seen happen in years for this Chargers team, which we'll get into. But it was It was amazing to be able to have like a peaceful end of the fourth quarter as a Chargers fan, beating the Broncos, watching Drew Lock lose, seeing Joey Bosa do Joey Bosa things, Andre Robert, Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert, obviously, Austin Ekeler. This was arguably the best team victory we've seen all season, and it couldn't have happened at a bigger time. Jake, the Chargers are 9-7. They are currently back in playoffs, at least currently, as a 7th seed. I think they can go up to as high as 5, depending on how things unfold, which is unlikely, but they could. And weirdly, I believe I have this right. If the Colts lose to the Jaguars, which
Very unlikely.
but let's just play with this for a bit. If the Colts lose, Jake, did you know that the Chargers and Raiders could literally just play like shoots and ladders for 4.5 quarters and end the game in a tie, and both would be in the playoffs? Colts would be out.
Just so I can understand the origami that you were just vomiting out of your mouth. If the Colts lose, and regardless of the outcome of the Chargers and Raiders game,
they have to tie. They can have to tie the game, and both are in.
Got it. Okay.
If you're question real quick off the bat, Jake, let's just say, I know this is crazy, but let's just say this happens. Okay, Jaguars find a way to beat the Colts.
Come on, Dan.
If you are the Raiders coaching staff and the Chargers coaching staff, think about it. If we lose this game, we're out. If we tie, if we both agree to tie, we're both in. I know this is insanity to think about, but if you were the head coach and the other coach came to you and said, "I'm in if you're in."
Bullshit. Hell no. I'm playing to win.
You're playing to win, but also to possibly
I don't give a damn about a fucking tie. Are you kidding me? Come on now.
I'm sorry. I would do it. I'm
playing to win the game. There's no side bet gentleman's agreement on the sidelines here.
Hey,
Come
you can
on
take
now.
your pride wherever you want it. I'm totally doing that. I would do it.
Please.
Look, I would love to knock the Raiders off, obviously. But if there is a scenario where there is zero risk and I get in the playoffs,
come on, Dan. I know you're like talking about something that obviously is not going to happen here.
I know.
But yeah, what the hell? These are all the goofy...
listening who are watching. Let us know in the comments. Give us a tweet, comment, whatever it is. Would you do it? Would you do it? I'm dying to know. I'm going to put that on Twitter later on and see what people say. Anyways,
Dan,
so Jake.
First off, just in general, nobody likes seeing ties in the NFL. And if
you when you get the playoffs.
If playoffs were on the line, I don't care. I wouldn't be going into it with just to say, like, you know what? Whatever. Let's just balance the game to see. Come on, get out of here with that. Let's talk about the game.
All right. So, Jake, the Chargers dominated for the most part of the entire game. There's a couple times got a little dicey, but some of the things that I thought were most important, we'll get into kind of the key takeaways. Obviously, we got a voicemail, which I'm surprised only one person. I think people were still like processing the fact that they're actually still in contention. Chargers fans aren't used to this at this point in the season. We have meaningful football in January. Weird. Chargers' third down defense is horrendous all season. All season. They cannot get off the field and had found a way, healthy, other than Drew Tranquill and Kenneth Murray. 3 for 11, they held the Broncos on third down, by far better than their average of like 50-something%. And then they got 2 huge fourth down stops, stopping the Broncos in their tracks. There were many reasons for this victory, but the defense's ability to get off the field. And I know the Broncos were decimated by COVID and injuries and whatever. Like, look, what happened last week, I get it. Like, there is no easy game. The Chargers handled business, and they kind of flexed a bit on defense. And you're not used to seeing that. Justin Jones coming back, huge. Obviously, we'll talk about individual playmakers and performances, but how they were able to bow up on 3rd and 4th down, do that whole bend but not break thing, but they also didn't bend much either. That was something that we have not seen, that there really hasn't been much hope for it for weeks. And so seeing the team succeed on 3rd and 4th down on defense, I think was probably the part that was most exciting for me. We talk about it. This team healthy is a problem, but you never know. You never know. So what say you? Biggest takeaways before we kind of get into the weeds of things, like 30,000 foot view.
I mean, yeah, you could point out the defensive aspects and how they showed up, but I mean, it's what they should have done. Let's not forget, Denver was down a handful of receivers in this game.
3 handfuls of players.
Give me that stat again, Dan. What did Denver go on 3rd down offensively?
I think it was 3 for 11.
3 for 11, which is what it should have been the week before against Houston as well. But instead, they went 8 for 13, and there was a much different result in that game. But 3 for 11, okay, you did what you needed to do against a Drew Lock-led team, a predictable run defense that the Chargers were ready for, that they handled. You wonder to yourself, how the hell did the Chargers lose to this Denver team earlier on in the season? And I get it. Again, they were down a handful of receivers in this game, and they played big roles that first game around, as well as did Teddy Bridgewater and other key players that they did not have, even on the defensive side of the ball. But the defense came to play. They had an intensity. If you want to talk about standout guys that really stood out, you mentioned Justin Jones. The run defense is just a different look with him back in the lineup when we didn't have him just a week ago. Nasir Adderley looked fantastic, was flying around the field. Other players in the secondary, I thought, kind of could have done a little bit better. To me, it wasn't an outstanding performance, but it was a serviceable performance against a depleted offensive roster.
They did what they were supposed to do.
They did what they were supposed to do. So there shouldn't be anything to get overly excited about this when you look at the level of competition that the Chargers were facing here. But other standpoints, offensively, outside of the first drive that they sputtered a little bit. We're kind of wondering about, I was a little bit miffed about some of the offensive play calls, more specifically the run calling when it was being called, the runs that were being called specifically with Austin
A little
Ekeler.
conservative.
Didn't get it, but they started gathering their mojo towards the end of the first half, and that carried on to the second half. Obviously, Justin Herbert breaking the all-time franchise touchdown record in just his second season, surpassing Phillip Rivers.
Insane.
With 35 touchdowns. It's just nuts. And if I remember correctly, the tweet from Fernando, I'll have to look it up here in a second, but it was another milestone that he surpassed. It was just crazy. I'll get back to that in a second. But Justin Herbert breaking the record, he looked good, decent, not one of his best performances, but I mean, it was a serviceable performance nonetheless. I think that the game plan from Coach Staley here was to keep things well balanced, was to attack the defense in a lot of different variety of ways. And I think that he alluded to that when he was talking about it in his post-game press conference, much like it was with the Davis Mills situation in Houston. Other people were asking, well, why was he really staying aggressive in some of those late red zone scenarios when they were down there? Again, the threat in this scenario just was not there. So the play calling was dialed back a little bit. It was a little bit conservative. Again, that's not what we're used to with Brandon Staley. But overall, offensively and defensively, it was okay. Dan, I think that the one thing outside of the Justin Herbert touchdown breaking record, what the hell can you say about Andre Roberts and the special teams unit that has just done a complete 180 from where it was between weeks 1 through 6? And this is the funny and frustrating part at the same time, because just a week ago, we were on here and we were ripping Tom Telesco in regards to the depth really being exposed when it was in Houston, when you had a number of players that were out in that game due to COVID protocols. Andre Roberts was one of those players. But these are the type of moves when you look at them acquiring Andre Roberts and acquiring Dustin Hopkins and what those two have meant to solidifying your kicker situation as well as your return specialist situation, it can't be understated enough. I mean, it can't be overstated enough. It really can't. Because when you see the production of where the Chargers' average starting position was between weeks 1 through 6, it was ridiculous. Essentially, the Chargers would have to drive 90, 85 yards just to even put points on the board. Now their averaging starting position is at the 28-yard line, almost to the 30. And then Andre Roberts rips off a 101-yard kickoff return yesterday. First time that it's been done since 2012. So that just goes to show you, in a decade, how much the Chargers have been yearning for some juice like this in the return game. And Dan, I already know you have the thing queued up, so go ahead. Let's just hear it for all time's sake.
See you later. Andre Roberts, 101-yard kickoff return, touchdown, Chargers. Well, it felt like he was threatening to do that throughout the game. They've had some good space and great acceleration, and everybody stayed in their blocks really well. He was able to work to the right side and then.
Sorry, I was talking over a little bit on that call from Mad Money Smith, but I didn't realize you were queuing it up right there.
I had issues. I played it while you were going. I hope it came through okay.
But again, it's one of those things that it just brings you back to the whole questioning of Telesco's aspect. It's really just we can condemn him and call for his job 1 week ago, and rightfully so. But for totally different reasons, you look at it and you're like, oh my God, these were fantastic acquisitions that were made mid-season that have totally turned the confidence of your third unit in special teams completely around. And it has paid huge dividends, more so to your scoring output and overall your offensive starting position on their drives.
So fun fact, my wife and I are at the game, and my wife goes and leaves to go to the restroom, I believe, or she went to walk around a little bit. And Andre Roberts' 101-yard kick return happens while she's gone. I get a text from her. What did I just miss? And I said, well, nothing big, just something that hasn't happened in 9 years for the Chargers. So I got to show her the replay. The thing is, I'm not even a little bit surprised. The last couple games that he's played, he has been close many times. Should have had it at Kansas City or versus Kansas City. And then honestly, he had a few yesterday that also could have gone. So Andre Roberts, I believe, since joining the Chargers, has the highest kick return average of any kick returner in the NFL.
Tell me the last time that the Chargers held that particular stat.
I would argue, I don't know, but I
guess
never.
Somebody please be a football nerd for me and tell me if that's actually ever happened historically, and I will bet good money to say that it never has.
Yep. So you're right. Andre Roberts has been arguably one of the top 5 MVPs of this team. And that's not using superlatives. He's been that important. He has probably given the Chargers, statistics only, going from a 15-yard return average that we had prior to Andre Roberts to 30-something. You're getting 20 yards more field position every time you're touching the ball because of that one man. That's huge. So let's get into it, Jake. So Chargers go up 7-0 early. Team sputters. Go up 10-0. A lot of folks thought that they should have gone for it on 4th down there at the goal line. Personally, I was okay with it. I thought this Broncos, the offense is not great. Get the 10 points to get up 2 scores. That's fine. End of the half, the Chargers defense does pretty darn good. Stopping them on 4th down at the goal line when they had to, which I believe that's when they had the Philly special.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was a thing of beauty. You mentioned Nasir Adderley had a day. Blowing up the wide receiver who tries to throw it to Drew Lock. If that Nasir Adderley doesn't do that, that ball probably is thrown perfectly, and that's a walk-in touchdown for Drew Lock, literally. Ball is then underthrown because Nasir Adderley hits him, gives time for the rest of the defense to come back. across the field, and then Joey Bosa lays the hammer down on Drew Lock at like the half-yard line. And that Chargers go right down. I think this was like a 98-yard drive because they go out, they get a first down, then they go fourth down, punt it. Broncos muff the punt, which when's the last time that's happened against the Chargers?
Right.
And then the Chargers take it all the way in for the touchdown to Keenan Allen, 17-0 with like 15 seconds. Yes, the Broncos get a 75-yard field goal at the end of the half to make it 17-3. But then once the Broncos go 3 and out on offense starting the second half, Chargers go back, get a field goal, and that was kind of a wrap after that. That was kind of it. Like, then you go into like the Mike Williams ridiculous play, the catch of the record. You go into, Justin Herbert, what can you say? This guy's got, he will have over 5,000 yards total rushing and passing in his second season.
The stat that I was actually looking for just a minute ago, Dan, again, Fernando Ramirez tweeted this yesterday when it happened in the middle of the game. Justin Herbert surpassed 800 completions in his first 2 seasons. It's faster as far as games played goes. It's faster than any other player has gotten to that mark. 800 completions in 31 games is insane.
What this kid, we say it all the time, Jake, but what he is doing is not normal. And I don't want folks to lose sight of how special this is. Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Fame quarterback, or if at worst, borderline Hall of Fame quarterback. And Justin Herbert has already thrown more touchdown passes in a season than he ever did. Like, and the best part about it is that play, I think, completely encapsulates why folks love Justin Herbert. Obviously, dime of a throw. Okay, Mike Williams, great catch, dives. It was perfect. It couldn't have been any worse. It was ridiculous, right? But immediately after, Justin Herbert running down the field, super excited, goes and gives Mike Williams a big hug, tackles Mike Williams in excitement. And then afterwards, they put on the infinity board the stat where he beats Phillip Rivers' record, 35 touchdowns, and it shows Justin Herbert looking up, seeing that he's on camera, and then tries to hide away from the camera because he didn't want the limelight. He literally tried to duck away as they were trying to get him on TV. Phillip Rivers is arguably one of my favorite football players of all time for all of those reasons that we know. But how can you not love this kid? He's just something else, man. And he makes it look easy. As a football analogy, he always have Steph Curry, the Steffortless. He makes what he does look effortless, and it's not easy. What he's doing is not normal.
No.
So it's we're grateful, and man, I would love to see playoff Herbert. Let me just call it right now. Playoff primetime Herbert, give me all of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Again, Dan, you mentioned it. It's just what Phillip Rivers was able to do during his tenure. And then you think about this team also at one point in time had Dan Fouts in the Air Coryell offense when it was like a transcendent thing from the NFL where the ball was starting to be thrown downfield. And to think that this kid has broken so many, not just Chargers records thus far, but just NFL records in general is in 2 seasons is crazy. And we still have 1 regular season to go, mind you.
Are you not entertained?
That expanded regular season, having that extra game is going to help a lot of people out when it comes to breaking records, obviously.
Jake, he has a quarterback rating right now on the season at a tick under 100. He's at 99.5 for the season. 35 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. And oh, by the way, he also has over 300 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns to boot.
pretty damn good in the fourth quarter and in prime time as well.
He's like maybe 20, I think he's like 20 yards away from 5,000 yards and 5 fourth quarter comebacks and 5 game-winning drives.
Not too bad. Dan, okay, let me transition to some things that, worried me a little bit.
Sucking the fun right out of this episode. 20 minutes in. Love it.
Look. What do I got? What I got? I mean, if I don't have my pessimism, I don't have anything. So, Corey Linsley going out early
sucked.
Worrisome to me. The latest update from Brandon Staley that I had just read is that he's day to day. So hopefully, you know how important he is, because it really didn't seem like the Chargers were able to run as well as they started off when Corey Linsley went down. But the statement from Staley is that Corey Linsley is day to day. He said that he does not believe it will prevent him from practicing this week. So they'll know more when it comes to Wednesday before practice. So at least all signs as of now are positive on him. I mentioned Nasir Adderley from the good aspects, but the rest of the secondary, Dan, I understand the scenarios. I understand the Chargers were playing with a big lead in this game. But you can't be giving up some of these 20-plus yard passes to a Denver offense
tight end
with such little weapons. Yes, the Chargers have historically been destroyed by tight ends, but they can't be doing this, especially next week when you're going to be talking about, remember not too long ago when the Chargers defeated the Raiders, when the Raiders were mounting a comeback, Henry Ruggs at that time was a big part of that. So don't think that they're not going to look to get Deshaun Jackson involved in that game and try to take advantage of those big time plays. So they're going to really have to tighten up the screws in this week if they're planning on defending that. So I was a little bit disappointed with what I saw from the secondary in that circumstance. I really wish they wouldn't have given up some of those big plays, especially at the times that they did. But hopefully it's something to improve on.
Yeah, the Noah Fant catch and run was eerily similar to the Kelsey overtime catch and run to seal that game. Mike Davis had a game to forget, if we're being honest. It's weird and frustrating because he's always in position, other than the one time where he just got absolutely shook.
But technique is something that needs to be refined.
Like, turn around. And I know that's been something that's been his Achilles heel for a while, and it seemed for a while that he'd fixed it, and he did for a bit, but it's kind of come back a little bit. But yeah, Mike Davis didn't do great. Chris Harris, January Chris Harris, I'm not upset with that at all. Asante Samuel Jr. showing why he's arguably the best corner in the draft, in my opinion, at least live. There were a couple things. Okay, there was one ridiculous catch that I saw that he gave up where I'm like, okay, that's just a great play. But on the other side, I mean, Keenan Allen going up against Pat Surtain. I mean, that was so fun to watch. And I was telling my wife, I'm like, that guy over there is so good. And to see Josh Palmer kind of reminded me of what we all saw in the draft, go up against him a bit. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, both now over 1,000 yards receiving. They're doing pretty well. In terms of things that I did not, that I thought went poorly, early on in the game, I know we had the touchdown drive to start, but afterwards, I know this Broncos defense is good, for good reason. Some guys were out, but we probably had 7. I don't remember the number. But we had 7 drives in the first quarter and a half. I'm like, this never happens. We could be up 42-0 right now if we actually played well on offense. But they were kind of sputtering. They were playing a bit conservative, although I do understand why. There were some plays, to your point, you mentioned the running game. There were some plays that they called run where I'm like, why are we calling a run right now? I know we don't want to do anything stupid, but we're not going to get 3rd and 4 running it. So why are we doing this? And then they lose 2 yards. Love the play of Ekeler, obviously. Justin Jackson did great. I am a little concerned with the goal line stuff on offense. On defense, our goal line looked great. Derwin James kind of helter skelter. He had one easy interception, arguably the easiest in his career. But then he also had kind of a couple ticky-tack calls. I think the roughing the passer one, I guess by the rule book, technically it was roughing the passer, but that's kind of a bang play. But no, like otherwise, that was, like I said before, that was probably one of the best team victories of the season. Probably the best. All three phases played good, played complimentary football, and took advantage of the opportunities when they needed to. Like there were a couple of interceptions they dropped, but otherwise they were on, man. And they came out from the jump with a different kind of feel to them. Like they came out with like a business trip. I don't know, any other like things that you were disappointed by or that gives you level of concern going into next week?
No, not so much in this game. Again, I think at that point we'd be nitpicking a little bit if we went down and braked everyone. I mean, I probably expected the Chargers to get a little bit more pressure on the quarterback, having Tillery be the only player that ended up getting a sack during this game. You know, the rest of the players were good when it came to the run, but I did really feel like we would have been able to get back to the quarterback a lot more than we actually did, considering who was back there for this game. I definitely felt that should have happened.
I will say, Jake, though, they didn't get a lot of sacks, but man, did it feel like there was pressure all day long.
When it came to like the second half, I feel like the Chargers knew exactly what the Denver Bronco offense was going to do, whether it came to the run or the pass. You know, the Broncos could only do what they were afforded to do with their quarterback and their weapons at that time. So they did not have a lot of options. So it definitely made things easy for the Chargers. I get that. I probably just would have expected just a little bit more of a performance when you have, you know, certain guys back in the lineup on that one. But again, not a terrible performance. You know, Drew Lock did what he could do, and the Chargers were able to key in on that and limit that offense dramatically, which was good. But that was probably again. I like I said, I'd probably be nitpicking at this point if I was literally to go back through and find anything else from a pessimistic standpoint that I'd like to see get corrected. But overall, Dan, look, Chargers did what they needed to do. And the other two teams that they needed to sustain losses in their final two games. And really, when you look at it, this week was the best shot for both of those to happen when you see who the Ravens and the Dolphins opponents are this coming week. So you got a gift. You got the gift that you needed, and you're back in the playoff contention. Simple formula, win and you're in. Of course, against the Las Vegas Raiders for the final game of the season. Playoffs, we could have said, had you not dropped the game against Houston 2 weeks ago, that playoff started last week. We wouldn't have even been talking about this scenario in reality because, again, the Chargers handled it. They had their entire destiny in their hands, but they're fiends for the dramatics. They can't let any of us Chargers fans have anything easy. They have to make it tough for us. So what do? They drop one against the Houston Texans. They end up coming right back, getting a victory against the Denver Broncos. The teams that they need to drop games do it, and it sets up a pivotal playoff matchup against a divisional opponent for this coming week.
You mean, obviously, you can't overstate how important this next game is. Let's get to the hotline. Chargers Unleashed hotline, 323-374-5651. Chargers defeat the Broncos 34-13. Again, the Chargers Unleashed hotline is brought to you by Tick Pick. Jake, I'm heavily considering going to this Vegas game. Have you seen how expensive tickets are?
I believe it. Doesn't surprise me.
They're like upwards of $380 for like the cheapest seats in the house.
Well, it is considering what's on the line, Dan.
It's a playoff game.
Yes, it's a playoff game. So the playoffs start this coming Sunday. That is the Sunday Night Football. It's huge.
If you've saved up all year, I know there's only 3 days so far in the year, but if you saved up and if you have money to burn and if you are able to afford it, go to tickpick.com/unleashed and you can get tickets to this game as well as any other event. But check out tickets. There's a huge contingency of Chargers fans that are going to be going to this game. I can't wait to see what that looks
Some
like.
people already have gotten on it, so
Yep.
get to work.
So this is a new movement we got going on here. So yeah, go to tickpick.com/unleash. Check out all of the events that you're looking forward to. Get no fees, arguably and most likely the cheapest prices in town at tickpick.com. All right, Chargers Unleashed hotline. Folks were excited. I think people were in their emotions because we only got one voicemail, but it's a great one. Let's hear what they have to say from the 570 area code. Let's hear what we got to say about this Chargers victory.
First of all, I want to once again thank you guys for taking the voicemail. And second, congrats to Justin Herbert for breaking Philip Rivers' record of most touchdowns in a single season. He's only 23. He's literally my age. I'm the same age as him, and he just broke an all-time record. So that's incredible. And the future is obviously bright. But can we talk about how peaceful this game was? I mean, how there was a couple moments where we had a couple of goal line mishaps. We didn't score as many touchdowns as maybe we should have in the first half. But overall, it was a pretty peaceful game. And by the way, shout out to Von Miller and the Rams for giving us this opportunity that we capitalized on. But no, it was a peaceful game, and I feel like that is something that doesn't come often for Chargers fans. We usually have those games that are just wild and crazy. Other thing is that big game against the Raiders next week, and I really, really hope, because in my opinion, this dropping issue with the receivers is kind of becoming an issue. It usually, maybe it's an abnormality, but it's kind of becoming an issue, and the Raiders have a defense that Herbert knows all too well. It's Gus Bradley's defense, right? He used to be our D coordinator. He should be able to have a field day on this defense like he did the first time. But other than that, please no Philip Rivers slander on the timeline, by the way. I see it so much. Can we just please lay off? Rivers was great, and Herbert is also great. It's okay to have two great quarterbacks. But bolt up, and hopefully we win next week.
Lots there.
Yes.
Lots there. Yes, we talked about it earlier. It was a very, for the most part, very relaxing, peaceful day at SoFi or on our couches, wherever we were. We're not here for any of the Philip Rivers slander. He's a damn good quarterback. Sorry, darn dang gummit good quarterback. But so is Justin Herbert. So they both can be great. Talked about the drops. Also talked about the fact that Justin Herbert can shred a Gus Bradley defense. Concerned about the drops?
I'm always concerned about the drops, Dan, because they always seem to come in the most crucial moments. Go back just a couple of weeks ago against Kansas City game. Chargers have had plenty of those scenarios happen in the worst possible time for them to rear their ugly head. And they've already had to answer for it. Keenan Allen has personally answered for it and has not been happy about it when it's happened. So they've tried their best to take ownership of it, but you just hope that something like this comes away. The Chargers have never had, in my recollection, this many dropped passes in a single season. It's unfortunately, while it seems like it's an abnormality as far as if we're just talking about it happening this season, it's become an unfortunate trend throughout the games this year. And it's something that when you get into this game against the Raiders, and if you're hoping to make any sort of a playoff push, if you take care of business, you can't afford these things to happen as frequently as they do when they have led to Chargers losses. So you hope that it gets cleared up. You try to go out and as players and do your best on it. I mean, as pissed off as we are as a fan base, you'd have to assume that the players are getting on their own asses, or players are calling out their own teammates in the locker room and saying, we can't keep doing this, man. It's become bad enough to where you'd hope that it would just be like a smack in the face and they'd be able to catch anything. But you know what? As Staley likes to say in his post-game interviews right in the locker room, winning in the NFL is hard. And it is. But throw the ball, catch the ball.
Fundamentals.
Yes. Fundamentals. Yeah. So the Chargers are going to have one of their better games of the season to go up against the Raiders, who are going to play hungry. This is a divisional opponent.
Desperate.
They have players who can get after the quarterback, regardless of what you want to think about this Raiders team. They can play tough, and they've got playmakers on both sides of the ball that the Chargers are going to have to look out for. So don't get it twisted by any stretch of the imagination. This is not going to be a cakewalk. I understand what the Chargers did to the Raiders early on in the season. It was one of Justin Herbert's better performances. Prime time under the lights. It's going to be the same type of scenario, but you have to go on the road in hostile territory in a playoff atmosphere for the first time in Justin Herbert's career. Win and you're in for either team, essentially. Loser goes home. Well, loser will just have to drive, probably 2 neighborhoods over.
That's why they could just tie.
Right.
They could just tie.
Shut up, Dan. Don't even start that whole conversation again. But you get my point here.
Yes. I was walking into the stadium and I was talking to someone. And I was telling them, I said, like, this is the first time in Justin Herbert's career we're like back against the wall. Like, this is where you got to show it. Like, you have no other option. You have to win this game or you're out. And in contention, Justin Herbert sees the games beforehand and the team comes out and just dominates. And you're not used to it. We'll see what happens next week. This is going to be wild. Jake, game balls. We can go on and on and on. And I honestly don't think we really even have time to go through all the guys that we're impressed with. But real quick, let's run through these. Talk about Justin Herbert. I think he deserves one. Justin Jackson, he's playing himself into a new contract. Don't look now. Offensive line. Trey Pipkins, have a day.
Never thought that I'd be, especially after the Kansas City game. I know that we all owed a collective apology to Trey Pipkins on how he stepped up in that scenario with Rashawn Slater being out. And it was coming close that you may not have had him or Storm Norton available this week because of COVID issues. And Trey Pipkins was available. Storm Norton was not because he was still feeling lingering effects. And at least from a running game standpoint, when the Chargers ran behind Trey Pipkins, it was positive. Collectively, the Chargers as an offensive line did not give up a sack, was barely even pressured. Trey Pipkins gave up 0 pressures. I got to give it to him. Look, I'm not going to be the advocate here to start saying that we should consider Trey Pipkins is getting a starting position. I will not go that far. But if you're telling me that this is the road to developing Trey Pipkins to look better, I'd say so far you're doing a pretty damn good job at that.
Yeah. Scott Quessenberry comes in early for Corey Linsley. And Brandon Staley talked about it. The Chargers are so fortunate to have a backup center as good as Scotty Q. Like, he held that thing down. Offensive line, obviously, Rashawn Slater does Rashawn Slater things. I think he was the highest rated offensive lineman in the entire NFL this week. Offensive line did good. Your boy, Steven Anderson, looked great. Trey McKitty looked good. This tight end squad is looking pretty darn good. They're blocking pretty well. Receivers, honestly, didn't really have to do much. Mike Williams, when called upon, Keenan Allen, when called upon. Defense, got to give it to Jerry Tillery. Last couple weeks, he's looked serviceable. He's looked better. Talked about Justin Jones already. My goodness. Chris Harris, Nasir Adderley. Like, there's a lot of guys that stepped up. Justin Hopkins made his kicks. Andre Roberts, the coaching staff. Like, this was again, we mentioned it. This is like an all-around, just a good win and a feel-good win. Like, this team comes out of it like we're that team. So, look, Jake, as we round this episode out, I mean, question for you and question for anyone listening or watching. Rewind 18 weeks. If someone were to have asked you, dear Jake Hefner or whoever you are, would you take the Chargers at 1 game remaining, when you're in the playoffs against the rivals of Las Vegas Raiders, would you take it?
I mean, would you take it?
Would
Sure.
you So rewind. Jake, Chargers are going to go 9-7 with 1 game remaining. You happy?
I'm happy with that. I'm happy. I predicted that before the season started that they would be 10-7 to close out the season. I did not, however, guarantee that they would make the playoffs, given what I thought was going to happen with the rest of the teams in the NFL. But yeah, if you told me to say it's going to come down to a 1-game playoff scenario against the Raiders, Justin Herbert has to go into hostile territory. Who wins
in prime time?
Absolutely, I would take that. No question about it.
So far, again, this is a pessimist saying this. So far, again, big asterisk.
If you want the pessimist,
wait. Let me enjoy this moment while I can. So far, the pessimist is happy and would take what the Chargers have done in totality this season.
No. You asked me one simple question.
Yes.
If you told me that the Chargers could go 9-7, playoff scenario, win and you're in, would you take that? At face value, yes, Dan.
Yes. So you're with the scenario, you are happy.
Scenario alone.
Yeah.
Yes. But do not say that I'm happy with everything that the Chargers have done, because this is where the pessimist decides to come out a little bit, because I would then have questions.
Yes,
I would then be asking, well, how's the defense done? How's the offense done?
All of the crap.
Which games did they drop? Which games did they squander?
I know.
And if you told me that one of the games and one of the reasons that they lost and were in a 9-7 position to start with in general was because they lost to the Houston Texans, I would have had a lot more to say. And I said enough last week. But
the reason I say this is it has been a long season for all of us, for all of the players, for every team, football, outside of football, whatever, 2022. But right now, your Los Angeles Chargers, with a brand new coaching staff and a second-year quarterback, are 1 game away from the playoffs and are currently in the playoffs if it ended today. If you are not fully behind this team now, I don't know what there is to tell you. Like, I know some people are from other cities and they're bummed about the team leaving San Diego and they've been burned and we've lost too many of those heartbreakers. Like, this is a sport. This is how sports work. But this team is arguably the most fun team to watch in the NFL. And we got a coaching staff and a quarterback who's going to be making like $50 million a year in a couple of years. Enjoy this and embrace the journey. Embrace the fact that this team is different. I heard an interview with Brandon Staley and Matt Money Smith and Petros after the game. And I know this is the coaching staff saying this, and this is Brandon Staley saying it, so you can take it with a grain of salt. But like, this team is tested. Like, this team is different. Now, could they go out there and lose to Vegas? Sure. But the juggernaut of a schedule that they have had to go up through all season long, and to come out of it, regardless if they lose next week, above 500 for the season, is a testament to these players, the fans, the coaches. The Chargers historically do not have a plus 500 record against winning teams. They just don't. So just my ask is, please support this team. Please get behind this team. Stay with them. Jake, stay positive for 4 quarters. Try it.
Hey, I didn't say anything at all during this game.
I wonder why.
I didn't say anything against the Giants game. And like our caller was saying, this was a pretty emotional, mellow game. Didn't have anything to worry about. Yeah, you'd hope for more weeks like that. And it's nice when those weeks come around every few months, because what we have to endure as fans on a weekly basis, it's not good for our health.
Yep. So this is a look, we're about to get crazy. In 6 days from now, we're going to find out if the Chargers in the playoffs. We're going to be going through this Raiders preview, some fun things in store. But enjoy this week. I know we're all going to be on the edge of our pants. We're all not going to be edge of our seats. We're all not going to be able to sleep well Saturday. Sunday is going to be a nervous wreck. But the Chargers have meaningful football again, Jake, in January. Like, for all intents and purposes, if you think of it weirdly, in a 16-game season, Jake, Chargers playoffs start today. Like, Chargers in the playoff game starting.
It started yesterday, and
like
they're
how
1-0.
crazy is that? Like, we're in
started
playoff
yesterday.
mode.
They're 1-0. Started yesterday, and they're 1-0.
And you heard so many players. You heard so many players talk about the two afterwards, Jake. Like 1-0, 1-0 for all the marbles, 1-0. I'm freaking excited, man. Like, I know I'm the optimist. I know I'm always smiling here and trying to think about the glass half full, but like, there's an opportunity here, dude. Like, they're right there. They're right there. And this time last week, everyone was saying the season's over. And so, let's go. Jake, anything else you want to tell the good people before we head out of here?
I'm just saying, this is what this team does to us, Dan. Okay.
It's true.
I'm definitely not the only pessimistic person, especially when it comes to other podcasts as well. I'm not the only pessimistic person. So I very much have no, because I gravitate towards them because they understand my point.
Those are your people.
So those are my people. I love it. But in the fan base, there's definitely the good handful of people that are pessimistic for good reason, Dan. Because you look at what this team did just a week ago, and then you look at what they can do when they're on, and it's frustrating. And we wonder why nobody in the national media puts respect on the Chargers' names. This is the answer right here, is because even the analysts don't trust the Chargers to go out and do things consistently. It is really just a helter-skelter, Jekyll and Hyde type of situation. But when they're on, and they can be consistent, especially the way they did at the beginning of the season. And Dan, as you pointed out, when they're healthy, they come to play. And when you look at the big games that they have been in this season, Cincinnati, Cleveland, even both Kansas City games, even though one that ended up being a loss. The Chargers really could have conceivably won that game. But you look at those big games, majority of them, they have won.
They've come to play.
It's just, why can't you handle your business against a Denver Bronco team earlier on in the season? Why did you have to drop that one against the Houston Texans or the Minnesota Vikings? You could have been in a much better position. Think about it, Dan. If the Chargers, if you go back and you just think real quick, I know we're just running up against the clock here, but you think about the first Kansas City game or the Cincinnati game or the Cleveland game, the way that those things went, historically, the Chargers probably lose those games. And we're sitting here talking about next season and the draft because the Chargers would most likely be sitting at a 6-10 or a 6-11 scenario in that circumstance.
Oh, yeah.
But 3 of those big games have made the difference. But it's just, those are the things that excite you when you see, oh my God, we could do that against a juggernaut of a team, some of the more elite teams in the NFL. And then you just collapse.
Yes, I you know what it is? You know what I thought of this. And look, there is no slander going out to any former Chargers team. But I really don't think it's even an argument. I think the ceiling of this team is better than any Chargers team we've seen in the last decade. And I would put it up with that 14-2 team in terms of the ceiling. Now, like, have they played to that? No. But, like, when you see what this Chargers offense does against, like, the Browns, or when you see what the Chargers offense and Justin Herbert can do, like, I know LT was a beast. I know Gates is a beast. Like, I get it. I'm just saying, like, their ceiling now, take away the 04 game or 4 season or 06. Like, this ceiling has got people excited. And Chargers historically, everyone talks about choking. Everyone talks about, Chargers going to Charger for good reason. But Chargers are winning games these last 2 years that they do not historically win. They're beating teams they do not historically beat. Sure, are they losing to some cupcake teams? Sure. But it's the NFL. and that stuff happens. What's the line for this game? Are Chargers? Is it a coin toss? Is it? Do you know?
I haven't even seen the line. I would expect at this point, I may be wrong, but I would suspect that the Chargers should only be at least a 3-point favorite. I don't think it should be something dramatic.
So do you think
really
Chargers
don't.
are favored?
I would assume that they would be. I would assume that they would be, given the fact that Justin Herbert so far is, I mean, look what he did earlier on this season. Look what he did to the Raiders in 2020 in the game in 2020. I mean, it's not outside the realm to be thinking about that. And if everybody likes to bring up the fact of Justin Herbert in prime time, I would assume that that's the way that they would be leading.
Chargers are -2.5.
Okay, there it is. Dan, honestly, as far as what's on the line in a betting type of scenario, I think that line is just fine. I don't think that line should be any more than 3. As much as we as Chargers fans would think based off of what happened earlier on this season, it's not that same type of thing, man. It's not.
You know what I've been considering doing? I just thought of this. We'll wrap it up on this. So everybody has their betting strategies with how they go through and cope with what they're going to choose, who they're going to choose to win, and all that.
You're betting the Raiders in the points.
Like, a part of me wants to bet that the Raiders win, because then either the Chargers win and I lose a boatload of money, but the Chargers still win and I'm super excited, or Chargers lose, I'm heartbroken, but I can like go buy a new blank. Like I could have some sort of like
I'm surprised you
consolation
even came
prize
up with that scenario anyways, because I don't think that there would be any situation to you even laying money on the Raiders, even if it was for financial gain. What the hell, Dan?
I don't know. I don't want to, but like
you went on that whole optimistic rant.
I know.
And you came back with that.
I know. But like, imagine, like for example, like if the Chargers go to the Super Bowl, I've already said it. If the Chargers go to the Super Bowl, whenever that is, I'm putting a ton of money against the Chargers, because, like, for example, yes, because I will gladly insert a number. Let's say $100, but more than that, I will gladly spend blank to watch the Chargers win the Super Bowl. Is how I think about it. So if I end up, let's say I lost $2,000, but the Chargers won the Super Bowl, do you think I am even a little upset the next day? A little, like, no.
No, not at all. Come on. I doubt that.
My wife
if you and I were jumping on a podcast the Monday after the Super Bowl, in that type of scenario, give me a break. You're always the, glass, as you just said, the glass half full type.
Yes,
of guy.
I lost $2,000, which would suck for my bank account, but my Chargers have won Super Bowl for the first time in my lifetime. Absolutely.
But you said you were betting against the Chargers.
Yeah, so either the Chargers win and I lose money.
Okay.
Or the Chargers lose and I win money.
But see, if that second scenario happens, if the Chargers lose, don't give me that crap that you're going to come on here with a wide look on your face and be like, you know what? Welcome to Chargers. Welcome to Chargers Unleashed, where the Chargers just lost the Super Bowl, but Dan Wolkenstein's got $2,000 in his bank account.
I'm devastated, but there is some. No, I'm absolutely heartbroken and devastated, but at least I can say I got some money. Like, there's some positive.
10.
Look, you might think I'm crazy, but I guarantee you there are more people.
You're crazy.
That do just like
I don't think you're crazy. I don't think it.
Okay,
I know.
Look, clearly we are on a good one after the Chargers go ahead and beat the Denver Broncos 34-13. 9-7. If you're still listening to this, I give you props because we've got off the rails entirely in the last 10 minutes. Jake, you can find him in this new year, new hairdo, new beard, at Jake T. Hefner on Twitter.
New.
Same backwards hat.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Myself, same optimistic, crazy person at Chargers Homer.
Damn straight.
Huge start to the new year, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us again. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the bell notifications. big things in store for Chargers Unleashed, Chargers, as well as LA Football Network in 2022. Thank you guys so much. Bolt up, and we will talk to you guys soon as we preview the Raiders. Week 18 prime time. Enjoy the week. We'll talk soon. Bolt up. Have a great day. Bye, guys.